In 1994, a 13-year-old named Nicholas Barclay would vanish from San Antonio, Texas. His disappearance never made the news. As time passed, his family knew the chances of him being alive were incredibly slim, but they were desperate for some type of closure. Over 3 years after Nicholas disappeared, his family would be contacted, saying Nicholas was alive. He was found in Linares, Spain. But how did he get all the way to Spain? Who had taken him? His family had so many questions. And when Nicholas stepped off the plane and was back in America, they had even more. Something felt off. Nicholas looked different. He sounded different. And the truth, once uncovered, would shock Nicholas's family and the world. This is the perplexing story of the disappearance of Nicholas Barclay.
You are listening to Perplexity.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Perplexity, a mystery podcast. As always, I'm your host, Kadra. If you're new, hello and welcome. I tell tales every single week that have perplexed me. So if you love a good mystery that leaves you wanting more, don't worry, you're in the right place. And if you end up enjoying today's episode, I would love if you continue to follow along. If you are a returning listener, hello, my friends, welcome back. So happy you're here. I have a wild story for you guys today, if you couldn't already tell from the introduction. And I am super excited to get into it today with my friend Jules. I'm joined by Jules today from FireEyesMedia.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me, girl.
Yes, so happy you're here. I am just going to say it. We've already started recording and I forgot to hit record. So Jules is going to hear the first third of this story again in my typical fashion.
She did great, though.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
This is my first time listening to I guess my second time, the very beginning part. But I will say, I don't know how this ends. I don't know the middle, and it's blowing my mind. So I'm like, come on, Kadra, I want to hear.
Let's
this
go.
Is good. Let's go.
Yeah,
Stay with us. This is a crazy one.
I'm just prolonging the questions. I do want to issue a trigger warning for sexual assault. We are discussing the disappearance of a child, so there are some heavy and serious elements. So listener discretion. All the sources will be down in the show notes, and be sure to stick around at the end because I will be talking to Jules for a little bit about FireEyesMedia and all the amazing things that she is doing. So without further ado, let's get into the story of the disappearance of Nicholas Barclay.
Let's go.
Nicholas was born on December 31st, 1980, and he disappeared while he was walking home after playing basketball with his friends. This was on June 10th, 1994, in San Antonio, Texas, which is just about an hour or two from where I live.
That'd be a really hot time of year, too, wouldn't it?
Oh, extremely. Yeah, it'd be very hot. He was also a very small boy for his age. He was 4'8", and he weighed just 80 pounds. His mom described him as looking like a pixie. He had super, super bleach blonde hair and fair skin and blue eyes. He was wearing a white shirt, purple pants, and carrying a pink backpack. Nicholas also had two half-siblings that were older, Carrie, the sister, and Jason. Jason was the oldest. He was in his 20s. And when Nicholas disappeared, he had actually called his house to see if his mom could come pick him up. But Jason told him to walk the 1.5 miles home because he didn't want to wake his mom up. She worked the graveyard shift at a convenience store and had been sleeping. Nicholas was reportedly a troubled child who was likely headed to a juvenile detention facility that summer. He often fought with his mother. He was allegedly abusive towards her, verbally and physically. He had had several run-ins with law enforcement. He had accrued a juvenile criminal record for breaking and entering, stealing, and threatening his teachers.
Okay. Was he allowed at school, or was he removed from the public schools and put in, do we know if he was in a behavioral facility or an alternate school at that point?
I'm not sure. I know that he had a court date scheduled for a couple days after he disappeared, and he was probably going to be put into a juvenile detention center, but I don't know if he had been in one before or like what the school situation was.
He had probably gone from the school to alternative school and then continued on not being able to follow those standards and then with getting in trouble. Okay. Just from being a
Probably.
former high school teacher, I'm thinking of the proper channels that you go through. It sounds like this kid was really struggling. And when you say, I didn't think about it before, but when you say that mom is working graveyard shift, that means he's unsupervised at night in his home with an older brother and other activities that might be going on in the home.
Right. Yes. And, we had talked about Jason used substances. I think they say it in the documentary that I watched too.
Hmm.
Jason was the one who introduced his mother to substances.
Oh.
And I believe it was heroin that they were using. So it was
Oh,
very,
dang.
yeah, very
Oh.
heavy, severe substances. Jason was also known to be abusive. So there was a very tumultuous and serious situation going on at home. And then, his dad's not in the picture.
So heroin is a devil of a drug.
Yeah.
I'm surprised, I'm thinking money wise. I'm surprised. I mean, I'm sure his brother has a record. I'm sure that there was not money readily available for a lot of things. So when you say breaking and entering, that makes sense. He's not supervised. He's
Mm-hmm.
not in a reliable home, and he doesn't get money to do other things. Sounds
Yeah.
like he doesn't need to be given the freedom to do other things, but he's got it all available to him.
Right.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Poor guy. I feel for him. I feel for the kid.
I know. Nicholas, despite just being 13, also had three tattoos. He had the letter T on his left hand between his thumb and forefinger, the letter J on his left shoulder, and the letters L and N on the outside of his left ankle, which would later be used to identify him. Nicholas's half-brother Jason and his mother, Beverly Dollarhide, struggled with substance use. Jason was also known to have a violent temper, and so because of all of these issues, it wasn't immediately obvious that Nicholas was truly missing. His mother didn't even make the missing persons report until June 13th, 3 days later. Nicholas also had a history of running away and being gone for a couple days at a time. And like I mentioned, he was scheduled for a court appearance on June 14th, which may have resulted in him being sent to a group home. So police just assumed that he had run away to avoid going into this group home.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you have defiance with authority and there's no proper, and this time in the 90s, there's no um, proper channels for mental health either. So he's displaying what appears to be magnitude of behaviors of trauma and trauma response.
Yeah,
I'd like to know more about his upbringing before, he was 14 in puberty. That's such a defining time for a kid.
I know. Yeah, I always try to find a bunch about the victims, and spend
Hmm.
a lot of time talking about that. And that was one of the sad and frustrating things about this story is we don't know a lot about
Yeah.
Nicholas or his family. Seems like his mom was also quite private, which I mean makes sense because she had this history of drug abuse and I'm sure had a lot of negative run-ins with law enforcement. So she wasn't very freely sharing all this information.
Right. I wonder if there's a distrust of law.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we see that more later in the story, but absolutely. So in September of 1994 is when we would get our first update about where Nicholas could have been because police were not looking for him. The story, like I said in the intro, didn't even make the news. So in September, a couple months after Nicholas disappeared, Jason calls the police saying he had just seen his younger brother Nicholas breaking into the home's garage. He claimed that he saw Nicholas, and when Nicholas made eye contact with him, he ran away. Authorities would come and search for Nicholas, but they couldn't find him, couldn't find any sign of him, or that there had ever been any kind of break in. Obviously weird.
Yeah, super. I have red flags.
Yeah, I know, I do too.
I
Yeah,
would be, I mean, I feel like it's a little irresponsible for me to say I would chase him down the street because I'm not in their life, their position, their experiences, or worldview. However, I do have questions. How far did his brother go chase after him?
Hmm.
How did the rest of the family react? And then in breaking in, like, which door was anything taken? Did he startle him? There's like
Right.
weird things in here. That behavior is just suspicious.
Yeah, I know. I'd be like, what was he wearing? Did he say anything to you?
Mhm.
What time was this? I don't know how many questions police asked, but I would like to think that they asked these types of questions.
And if he left on foot, he can't be far.
Yeah, I know. Did they look for him? Where did they go? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
If this is true, which we're not
Yeah, no,
qualifying
exactly.
it
Yeah.
today.
We will talk about theories at the end for sure, but exactly. Yeah. Do we even know if this is true? So we don't get any other updates until October 7th, 1997, over 3 years after Nicholas vanished. And this comes not from San Antonio, but all the way from the police in Spain.
Wow.
So the Spanish police get a call from a man saying that he and his wife had been touristing in the area and they had found a kid who looked like he was in trouble. He was in bad condition, he seemed very scared, and he couldn't really talk. He seemed like he was between the ages of 14 and 15, doesn't have an ID or anything on him. So you hear this 911 call, or not 911, whatever the 911 number is in Spain. You guys know what I mean. You hear this call in the documentary, and you hear this man, and he's like, "Yeah, I have this kid here, blah blah blah." But you don't hear anyone else in the background. You just hear this man talking and saying, "I'm here with my wife. I found this kid. You guys need to come get him."
Well, good for these people, unless they're in on it, unless they're trying to get. That's a theory I can talk later. But
Right? Yeah.
at this point, with this information, okay, it sounds like somebody's trying to help
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
kid.
Right. Yeah. No. When I heard this in the documentary, I was like, "Oh my God, someone found him. This is crazy." Then pretty soon after that, you hear that it sounds like he's been in human trafficking, which is a very real thing, like we were talking about earlier. And so I found all of this very believable at this point.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and coming from Texas,
yes,
that's a
yeah,
big port for human trafficking
it
as
is.
well. So it's
Yeah.
not far from believing, especially when you
No.
learn about the human trafficking statistics and the reality of it just here in the States alone.
Hmm.
It's quite sombering, but
Yeah, there's tons and tons of human trafficking in San Antonio and then also in Houston, which is very close by. So
yeah.
So police would come and pick up this boy and bring him into the station. He wasn't really saying anything, but he claimed he knew how to get into contact with his parents, and he just wanted to get home. The boy explained he didn't have a place to stay, so he asked to be left in the office overnight so that he could call his family. The police agreed. It doesn't seem like the police were watching him either at this point, which we'll talk more about later.
So they're just letting this adolescent who they don't know where he came from, who he is, his story, he was picked up off the street and they're letting him sleep inside a police station.
Yeah. And he's just in the office. He's doing his thing. Like he's not,
And he's a minor.
yeah.
Okay, that's a lot of liability, and that's very concerning, even for the 90s.
Hmm.
But again, I'm not well versed in how things are over there, but I feel
Yeah.
like basic policy. I mean, maybe somebody was charged with staying and monitoring him, or maybe understaffed, or lots of questions. However, it does
Hmm.
concern me if this is truly a minor.
Yeah. No, the whole time I was watching this documentary, I was like, this is so insane. I have so many questions. I'm so confused.
Yeah.
So the next day, police would come back, and, the boy had stayed there overnight. And so they're trying to probe and find out more. And he said that he had gotten in contact with his parents and that his name was Nicholas Barclay.
Okay.
Yes. Nicholas would explain that he had been kidnapped a few years ago. He had been taken by some type of group of men that were in the military, and they forced him into human trafficking. And
Okay.
he had recently escaped and had been living on the streets. So
Okay.
he really didn't know how he had gotten to Spain. He had just been kind of hopping from country to country, is what he tells them.
So like an international ring.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
There's more that comes out later when he's talking to other authorities and his sister, but he has quite a story to tell. So the Spanish police would, of course, eventually get in contact with the American police and Nicholas's family, who was obviously in total disbelief. Obviously, this is like best case scenario, like, oh my God, he's alive, but like, how? It's
Hmm.
been over 3 years, and how did he get to Spain? Like, they have so many questions. There's even a part in the documentary where Carrie, the half sister, said that her mom called her and was like, Carrie, you are not going to believe this. They found your brother. He's alive. And he's in whatever the city was in Spain, Linares or whatever it was. And she goes, okay, where is that in Texas? I'll go get him. Which is like funny because
Oh.
there's so many towns in Texas.
Mhm.
So she's just like, yeah, what town? And she's like, no, he's in Spain.
What was his mom, Nicholas's mom, and his brother ever looked at as suspects?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Carrie would be the one to go to Spain and get Nicholas and take him back home, which I thought was kind of weird, but they don't say why that is. But we do know that his mom was working graveyard shifts, that there was a lot going on at home, and that she had substance abuse issues. So maybe that was
That's a
part
lot
of
of
it.
pressure on that girl. That's a lot of pressure on that girl.
Yeah, no, extremely.
Just think about that long flight by yourself.
No, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So when Carrie would arrive to reunite with her half brother, she was relieved and immediately runs up to him and is hugging him and kissing him. But she couldn't help but notice, yes, it had been years, but Nicholas looked different. He had really grown up. He was blonde, yes, like her brother. He had the same exact tattoos, but his eyes were brown instead of blue, and he spoke with a European accent.
I can't get away from the eye color. That's the biggest alarming part is the eye color. But if you want to believe something and you're told by adults, this is what we have, this is where he is, and you've gone all this way, I wonder if you start to even like question yourself, what could happen? Could we,
Yes,
that would be like your eyes turning into my eyes.
yes. When I'm gonna say this again because when me and Jules were talking about this earlier, but like it's there are these frustrating things that I was reading specifically on Reddit, and some people can just be so mean on Reddit, but there were these things
Yep.
on there talking about like how could this family be so stupid? Why would they think this is him? Blah blah blah, and like that's super shady that they would claim this is him and blah blah blah, and like looking at them with foul play, and this girl too, like the sister, and I'm just like, cognitive dissonance is a real thing, and these people are heartbroken and in disbelief and confused. And so, especially people who have substance abuse and like they're from a very tiny town, they haven't seen their son in years or their brother or
Mhm.
whoever, and you have these people in positions of authority who are supposed to be doing their job and being capable and competent and have ways of identifying like this is who this is, so why would you think any different? I mean, this is how people like get into like cults, for example. It's like you
Mhm.
have people telling you this thing long enough, and if you're desperate, you can believe it. That's normal.
And the tattoos.
And the tattoos. I know. That was one of the craziest things too. It's he has the same exact hair color. He has the same exact tattoos. And
Yeah.
I mean, like, what, you know what I mean? So,
And who in Spain would know the name to give? That is a big thing
mhm.
as well. And I feel like uh, people love to mouth off and shoot off on forums and say, "How could you be so dumb?" But we're like, I've seen who you were dating. Like
Right?
how
Yeah, exactly. Don't
Come
talk
on.
about what you don't know about, okay?
Let's have some this his sister, Carrie, right?
Hmm.
She's a victim. she's a victim in all this, and I feel like
I
people
genuinely do believe that. Yeah.
and they get lost in the online narrative and the keyboard warriors that this is actually a victim and she's had real trauma and that rewires your brain. I'm curious later. I have some questions about updates. So,
Yeah.
because now we're caught up.
Yes. So Nicholas would tell his sister, Carrie, that the reason his eye color was different is because they had done medical experiments on him, these men that had taken him. They changed the color of his eyes so that it would be hard for him to be recognized. They had also forced him to learn a new language, and he had developed an accent over time being with his captors. But she was also, so overcome with emotion because, she thinks this is her brother. So what else is she going to think? So she starts showing him all these photos because when she flew out, she wanted to bring things with her to show him and help him spark these memories. And
Yeah.
he's not really remembering much. And she's thinking it's because he's been away for years and he's been, traumatized. So she's showing him all these family photos and telling him, this is your grandpa. This is so and so. They live here. Just showing him all these things, hoping it'll spark some memories. And she says in the documentary that he even made a couple of comments like, oh, yeah, he was my favorite. Yeah, that's little facts that lined up with Nicholas, which is really interesting. So, she's buying everything that this Nicholas is selling.
Yeah. Comments like that, you could have like a 50-50 shot
Yeah,
at them. And then it's hard to disprove. No, he wasn't. Yeah, I was. That's my opinion.
right. So then a court in Spain decided that this was indeed Nicholas, and they declared him a
Okay.
US citizen.
Oh, that makes okay.
And this was apparently so he has his initial reuniting moment with Carrie. They go through
Okay.
the pictures, and then they go to the court. And he sits down in the court, and there's basically this woman quizzing him and lines up all these family photos.
Hmm.
And he names all of them. But this is after Carrie's told him who everybody is. And he got all of them correct except for one.
Wow.
And so they were like, you are Nicholas Barclay. You are a US citizen. And he hops on a plane and he goes to San Antonio.
I would love to know who he got wrong. I'm just nosy though, because
I
I'm curious
know.
how all
Yeah.
these little details. Wow. So that do we know the time frame from when the authorities were called and Nicholas is brought in to when he becomes a citizen and he gets to fly home? Do we know that duration?
So he was found October 7th.
Okay.
I don't know from there what happened, but it seems like it was pretty fast because a lot comes out within the span of a few months. There's a investigation when he gets back. So it doesn't seem like he was in Spain for very long.
Now, is he's still classified as a minor then, according to the
Hmm.
Spanish authorities. So then
Yeah.
he is in the custody of his sister, who I'm assuming is over 18 at the time, um,
Oh, I don't
s-
know. I didn't think about that.
to bring him back because he's still technically a minor.
Mm,
Okay.
I did not think about that.
I was just curious how
Yeah, I don't
logistics
know.
work. They're just like, bye, get on your plane or
Right. Yeah, I don't know how that would work. Nicholas is reunited with his family. He moves into their home. And for months, Nicholas would live with Beverly, Jason, and Carrie, with them believing that he was traumatized, which is why he didn't remember things and why he acted differently. He hung out, though, with his old friends, and they were all getting along. He even started liking a girl in the neighborhood, and
okay.
he seemed to be doing better in school. So they're like, okay, maybe we can start getting back to normal.
Hold on.
Hmm.
He comes back from being in sex trafficking, which is continuously being essayed for 3 years, brought back to his home country, and he's put back in school. What was there any rehabilitation, mental health services, anything? Do we know that? No. Okay. Well, okay,
So,
there's a lot of
so
adults
well,
that failed this kid up to this point. If
yes. So let me say there was a social worker that is
okay.
interviewed in the documentary. So he had a social worker, but I mean, he was back in school and it doesn't sound like he was in counseling of any kind. The documentary had a lot of plot holes as well where I was like, what is happening? I'm so confused. So I
Mhm.
apologize, guys. You guys know I research things. So there's holes because I could not find these answers. But if
Mhm.
anybody's listening that like finds a random article or something, like let me know because I was very confused as well. So eventually, he's back in the States, but also like he was kidnapped and sex trafficked. So there needs to be an investigation. Who did this? What happened? So
Yeah.
Nicholas starts getting interviewed by all these officials. And
Okay.
Nicholas claimed that he was kidnapped while he was playing basketball. He was taken by a group of 2 to 3 men.
Did he tell this story for the first time when he was back in the States? The basketball kidnapped while playing basketball story? And he's already back with his family and friends.
I think so. The
Okay.
story, so like the
That makes
way,
sense.
yeah, the way that it's told in the documentary is like the story kept getting more detailed as
Okay.
it was passing. So he says he was kidnapped while playing basketball by a group of 2 to 3 men that were in the military and had ties to government officials. He was tortured, forced to eat insects, and was repeatedly raped. And he said this was all part of some type of big sex trafficking ring run by government officials. They were taken from country to country on military planes, and their identities were disguised through those medical experiments. But eventually, Nicholas managed to escape.
Okay.
Hmm.
D- You know what's so heartbreaking and devastating is that's a reality for a lot of missing people that they're actually in trafficking. I mean, I'm still holding out hope that Nicholas is who we say is, but it's twofold because if he's not, then what happened to him? And if it is, then look what happened to him.
I just got chills when you said that. I know. Yeah, it's awful. So, the social worker that was interviewed in the documentary. So, she is interviewing Nicholas at this point, and this social worker is like the only person, it seems like, that clocked this kid immediately. Like, as soon as she starts talking to him, she's like, this is weird.
Okay.
So, she says that the first thing she thought is this does not look like a teenager. He had 5 o'clock shadow.
Hmm.
And she also noticed his behavior. He was incredibly nervous, which she thought was kind of weird. Like, yes, he has trauma, but why would you be this fidgety and nervous talking to me, There
Which
was
I don't know. I would push back on that because that would make sense. That's you're talking about very intrusive, horrific things. But yeah, the looking like a man thing, especially for a kid that was so tiny and small. But it's
Mhm.
also like maybe some kids I would teach freshmen and sophomores and they'd come back after just 3 months in the summer and they look like little men and hey and have beards and you're like,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, no, I know. I thought the same thing, but like she was very adamant in the documentary that she was like, I clocked this kid from day one. So I don't know.
So
But
what did she do about it?
exactly, right? Yeah. So, okay. My understanding is at this same time, there was also a TV company, people in the media who wanted the story on Nicholas Barclay. They
Oh.
wanted to interview him, they wanted to start doing all this media coverage, but they wanted to make sure that they had all these facts straight. So they actually got into contact, this TV company got into contact with this guy named Charlie Parker, and Charlie Parker was a private investigator. So they call Charlie and they're like, hey, we're about to do this interview with this kid. Can you look into him? And so Charlie starts looking into Nicholas and he's like This is crazy. This 13-year-old kid disappeared. He's been gone for 3 years. He's found in Spain. Like, what are the chances? And he is seeing these because I think he was either doing police interviews for sure at this point, or he was like on the news for something else. But he finds these pictures
Okay.
of grown-up Nicholas. And so he does facial analysis comparison, and he's looking at the ears specifically. So there's, true crime cases where they've identified suspects based on the ear because there's very distinctive, markings and like, is the earlobe attached? Is it not? So he gets this still of 13-year-old Nicholas and this grown up Nicholas, and he gets into Adobe Photoshop and compared the ears. And they show this in the documentary, and it is immediately clear this is not Nicholas Barclay.
What about the brown and blue eyes? Like, was anybody believing
That's
the
a great
science
question.
experiment story? Well, we know now that that can be done and it's high risk. People are doing it. It's rare, but that's newer technology. I don't know. I guess maybe I just don't know about the effects of trauma and eye color.
Right. Yeah. Well,
But I
it
don't really
wasn't it wasn't him. So the eye color thing, makes sense because this wasn't Nicholas. So the private investigators' first thought was, okay, we just picked up somebody from Spain. What if this is like some kind of spy? Like, why else would they be pretending to be a kid and trying to get American citizenship? Like, what would the motivation be?
Mhm.
So Charlie has bad feelings about this person, and he also tells the TV company, and then Nicholas, quote unquote, is taken next to a doctor. And the doctor also assessed him and determined that there was no way this was Nicholas. I don't know what testing he
Question.
did, but
This might be intrusive, but I'm a mother of boys. Cut or uncut. That would be a very simple if
oh,
Nicholas was cut and this European individual was
mm,
uncut. You can't reverse
right. I don't
that.
know. Yeah,
Mm.
they don't say how they determined it in the doctor's visit, but they said that they determined it wasn't Nicholas. So that's a great point,
Mm.
maybe. So then officials would contact the family, and the first person they were able to get a hold of was Carrie, the half sister. So they warn her, this is not Nicholas, and you need to be careful. This is a dangerous person.
Why does Carrie have to get all this information?
I know.
Um,
So, okay, the social worker tells this point of the story. So she is at the hospital with Nicholas and is with him when Carrie comes to get him. And she said that she was the one who had spoken with Carrie on the phone and been like, this is not your brother. You need to be very careful. She shows up, and like on the phone, she had been really, really upset. Like, oh my God, this is insane. What do you mean this isn't him? And she's like, sounds, like she's a mess on the phone. When
mhm.
she got to the doctor's office, Carrie acted like, according to the social worker, that everything was fine and like hugs him and is acting like everything's normal and is like, let's go home.
Who
So,
got to her?
right. So the social worker also found that strange.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, who is this person?
Who is this living in their home, this unstable home? Let's bring a wow. Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah. Okay. So, this was not a boy. This was a 23-year-old man named Frederic Pierre Bourdin, and he was from France. Bourdin was also a con man.
Yeah, that vibes.
He had not only conned Nicholas's family, he was wanted by Interpol.
Oh,
And
no
he,
way.
mm-hmm,
Ugh.
he had a history of impersonating children.
What? A history? And
Uh,
for what purpose? To escape his last activities?
There is literally no motive.
And he was dating a girl in the neighborhood?
He wasn't, well, they said he started liking a girl in the neighborhood, but I don't know specifics, but that's a good point. That's creepy and weird. Yeah.
I'm just thinking of motive and living amongst adolescents.
Yeah. All they say about that is that they say he wasn't a sexual predator. So I guess that means he
Okay.
didn't have a history, like he
He
hadn't
just
been
wasn't
caught.
caught. Yeah.
Yeah. So he claims to have impersonated upwards of 500 children, including three missing teens.
What?
He had enrolled in various schools. He had gone through foster homes and hospitals, posing as a child.
Is he just like hungry? What is his deal? Okay, I'm ready to. You're blowing my mind. I legit have never heard this, and this part is blowing. 500. What does he have time to do? How?
So,
That's
okay.
speed impersonating,
There's
Pedro.
a there's a lot going on. So,
I'm sorry.
so the quote unquote man who called the police was Borden.
So he was in a. It was actually him that
It
called.
was
Okay,
just him the whole
that's what
time.
I was wondering if it was a
Yes.
con, and that is whack. Wow. So this is what he does.
Yeah.
It's what he does. Wow. And I mean, it's working. Now, are you going to go in later? Should I pull back on his impersonations and what we know about that?
No, you're good. You're fine.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Yeah.
Do we know or have any confirmation of the past impersonations that he did and in what countries?
No.
No. Okay.
And
Rabbit holes,
I'm
we're going
wondering,
down.
I know, I'm wondering if it's because there's other like legal charges pending or like open investigations and it being like in other countries, it just seems like that's why we don't know a lot of things. But
Yeah. Oh,
so,
that's crazy. Did he say he impersonated 500?
mhm,
Okay, so he's an unreliable first person narrative there, but
extremely. Yeah. That's
okay.
the other really hard thing is like this guy is a pathological liar. So how are you supposed to know what to believe that this man is saying,
Oh my
It's just
gosh.
crazy. Yeah. So the other big question I had is how did he know who Nicholas
Yeah.
Barclay was? How did he get his same hair color? Because this man was a dark haired man. How did he get the tattoos? Like how did this happen?
Are you going
So
to tell me later or do we not know still? I
we
won't
know,
ask yet.
we know,
Oh,
we
you're going
know.
to tell me
Yeah.
later. Okay.
So I'm going to tell you
But
now.
wow, especially because it wasn't publicized in the news.
No, this was not on the news at all. So, but
Is this
remember, police,
drugs? Oh,
no,
okay.
police brought him in to their station and he was
Yeah.
there all night,
Oh gosh.
unsupervised.
And then the next day he remembered who he was.
Oh, I'm Nicholas Barclay.
Oh, I didn't clock that. The
I
next
mean,
day.
I didn't either when I was watching the documentary, but
So he's in Spain. So where
mhm.
was he looking through? Like, okay,
Oh,
I'll let you tell me.
yeah, I will tell
Okay.
you. So police
Sorry,
bring him
guys,
in.
if you're frustrated with
No,
me. I'm
it's
just
okay.
blown my mind out right now. Let's go.
Police brought him in. He asked to be left overnight to call his family, and he used records in the office to contact various sheriff's offices in the USA, making inquests about missing children.
God, this man's busy.
Through one lead he gets the name Nicholas Barclay, and he asked a US agency, because he was claiming to be this Spanish official, if they could fax over information that they had on Nicholas. So they did. And they fax over his pictures, all of his identifying markers, like the tattoos, his hair color, everything. And he flees the police office the next day, dyes his hair blonde, somehow goes and gets these tattoos, and then Carrie picked him up.
This is like international spy stuff.
Isn't that insane? It's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary too. It's really scary. I gotta say. Like,
It's preying on people too. Is this
Yeah,
wrong
so
on so many. Okay.
this is a good point to say this now. So this documentary is called Imposter, and it came out in 2012.
Okay.
And this documentary, honestly, like I was so pissed the whole time because most of the documentary is them interviewing Borden. And he is like, so they do a lot of replaying of like his payphone call when he's pretending to find the boy and like all these interviews he did with police, and
Okay.
he's basically like re you have to watch it, but he's like reenacting all of these phone calls and everything like in real time as they're filming it. He's like mouthing it and like acting it out and like having a grand old time, and he
So they
just
gave him a stage. They gave
oh
the
yeah.
psycho a
Yeah,
stage.
they gave him a stage
Were
basically.
there third person interviews about him, or is most information coming from him?
So I would say probably like a third of it is from him, a third of it is from Nicholas's family, which is a big part of why I wanted to watch it. They interview the mom and the
Mhm.
sister Carrie a lot. And then the social worker and the private investigator are also
Okay.
interviewed. Yeah.
Um,
But his whole vibe, I was like, I hate this guy. Like the whole time I was getting so mad. I was like, this guy's so performative and like just very, he scared me. Like I was
yeah.
genuinely scared of this dude. There is a lot of screws loose, obviously.
Little talented Mr. Ripley-ish.
Yeah. So he wasn't trying to get money. Like there was no, the Nicholas Barclay's family is poor. Like he's not
Yeah.
getting anything out of that way. He
Hmm.
had no history of being a sexual predator. He appeared to be conning people simply because he could. Incredibly, incredibly strange. And
Did he have a psych eval?
I hope so, but I don't know.
Okay.
He was arrested and he was sentenced to 6 years for passport fraud and forgery for
Okay.
impersonating Nicholas Barclay. So I feel like usually when they do all of that, they end up doing a psych eval, but I don't know. And this is the other insane thing. So while he is in prison,
Okay.
he literally, any time that he could use the phone, was making collect calls claiming to have information about lost children, including a highly publicized case of Sabrina Eisenberg, an infant who had recently been taken from her home in Tampa, Florida. That should tell you everything you need to know about this guy. He is the worst.
I'm just, what if a lot of the backstory is actually part of who he actually is?
What do you mean?
Sex trafficking ring,
Mm.
impersonating children, figuring it's like I don't know.
Oh, like
I don't know.
he's getting information about these kids and he is maybe in trafficking.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, or how it's interesting. And where was he growing up?
So that's the other like frustrating thing about this case is it seems like he had I remember like reading, hold on, let me pull this up really quick. There wasn't a whole
Yeah.
lot about him. And I also didn't look up a ton about this guy because I wanted to focus, mostly on
Yeah,
Nicholas,
absolutely.
because that's the other reality of this, obviously, is hi, hello, we still have a 13-year-old boy who went missing and we don't know where he is.
Okay, I'm looking at the adult picture.
Yes. So that's Borden. And yeah, the other, yeah, the adult, that's like him now, what he looks like. And the one that has like his hair blonde and he's younger, that's when he was claiming to be Nicholas.
Okay. So okay, I don't want to ruin your groove. I'm just have real concern over where this boy Nicholas is.
Yeah, the only thing I could find about Borden is he was born in Nanterre. He was raised by his grandparents in Nantes until he ran away and eventually went to Paris. He never knew his father, who his mother stated was married to an Algerian immigrant named Casey. And that is the only thing I know about this guy.
It's very interesting, and I don't ask these questions for those who I'm just meeting for the first time. Hi. I ask these questions because the criminal psychology behind it is so intriguing to me, and we can learn so much. It doesn't excuse a damn thing, and we
No.
don't have any sympathy or empathy for him as an adult. I'm just
Mm-mm.
curious how did we get here? Because we can learn so much
Right.
from how we got here and the process. But shame on this guy.
Yeah, no,
That's
seriously.
heartbreaking.
Yeah. So he was later deported to France in October 2003. 3 months later, he attempted to steal the identity of a missing 14-year-old named Leo Bally.
Okay,
And
homeboy looks like a linebacker. Like he's got the face of who's that guy from Frozen? Kristoff.
yeah, he's
He
very
doesn't,
boxy.
yeah,
Yeah.
he doesn't look like a, that is bizarre.
Mm-hmm. And the most frustrating thing, honestly, is he now lives in France and has a wife and 5 children.
Okay.
He's just living his life. And he,
Just buffering right there.
yeah, he's just living his life.
How did he get caught that last time?
I don't know.
That is wackadoodle.
He told the Daily Mirror in 2012 that he would never impersonate anyone ever again and that he
He's
was
probably
sorry
impersonating,
for
what's
what he
his
did.
name? He probably took that guy's identity. That's probably not even his real name.
Oh, Borden.
Yeah. Someone check on the real Boredom
Yeah,
Station.
hello, is he okay? Probably not. The same year that the documentary The Imposter came out is the same year that he talked to the Daily Mirror. So it seems like that's kind of when he started fading out of the media. He did the documentary, he started talking to all these people in the news, and then that was kind of the end of what we know about Borden. But I do have some updates on the family of Nicholas.
Yes, please. I want to know about his sister, especially too, Carrie.
So I could not find anything else about Carrie, unfortunately.
Okay.
But I mean, she was in the documentary, and
Hey, and that could be that's her right to that privacy, right?
yeah,
But that's
no,
but
absolutely.
I just hope wherever she is that she has distanced herself from
Yeah.
a lot of this.
So
Oh,
Jason, the half brother, reportedly died of a drug overdose in 1998. So
oh
just about a
wow.
year after the whole Frederick Borden thing.
Wow.
If Nicholas is still alive, he would be 42 years old as of early 2023,
Yeah,
because
he'd be
that's,
40, 45 pushing because my
yeah.
husband's born the same year, yeah.
The reason I say 2023 is because that's when an age progression photo came out. So I'll put
Mm.
that in the YouTube video and on the Instagram page. But many people, kind of getting into theories now, many people online have speculated, and like the social worker, for example, a lot of people believe that Nicholas's family was somehow involved in what happened to him.
Oh.
And it did not help that while in custody, Frederick Borden claimed that Nicholas's family, specifically Beverly, had told Frederick they had killed Nicholas and they were using Frederick to hide the crime.
So it was like convenient
Yeah,
that Nicholas came about, and so they leaned into it and we're looking past. Would that explain? Then that insinuates that Miss Carrie was in on it.
maybe, maybe not.
Maybe not. Okay, yeah.
So Frederick
Yeah.
Borden
But
like is a pathological liar. He's not a reliable
Mhm.
source. He's literally insane, but he is claiming that Nicholas Barclay's mom, Beverly, confessed to him that they
Right.
killed their son and that he can stay there as long as he wants because it fits their narrative, basically.
Well, and that going back to when Carrie then from the phone call then to the hospital, what changed? That could explain what changed, why she shows up to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
You would really hope that that's not true, but if that's a possible theory too, that's an and if we think Carrie just found out that way too, that position that you're in, you're not even in a good stable position to begin with.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Well, what would the motive be? Just drugs, trouble? Like,
Right. I mean, yeah, exactly. What would the motive be? So Basically, when Frederick Borden tells this to authorities, this prompted a homicide investigation to be opened for
Finally.
Nicholas. Oh my God, finally. Yeah, exactly. So some people, we'll get into more of that in a second, but some people speculate that it may have been Jason that
Mhm.
murdered Nicholas. He was violent, he was an abuser, he was a drug abuser, and he was the last person to talk to Nicholas on the phone. Remember, he called him and was like, I'm at the basketball court. Can I come home? Blah, blah, blah. He also claimed he saw him alive in September, and there's no one to verify that. So that could have been him trying to cover his tracks.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Beverly perhaps found out, and in an attempt to protect her only other living son, may have helped cover it up.
Well, and going back to, heroin's a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
And her son got her into heroin. And so if there you can't that's not just a recreational drug. That's a very dependent drug.
Yeah,
And
extremely.
if he's her way getting that heroin also, and if they're under the influence of that too,
Mm-hmm.
wow, I can't
Right.
imagine what really was going on in that home.
Yeah. So Jason had been questioned during the homicide investigation multiple times by authorities and the private investigator, but no conclusion was ever made. Like they couldn't tie him to anything. I mean, at this point, it's been years later. There's probably no evidence. And then he had the drug overdose like very shortly after that. So some people say that this was a suicide.
Like it triggered, like he pushed it away, dealt with it the way he dealt with it, drugs, whatever, we don't
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
And then this triggered him to go, okay.
Beverly also was interviewed by police, and she did show some resistance when it came to getting her DNA tested. So they explained this in the documentary. They basically said it's possible she thought she was going to be drug tested, and
That's what I was thinking.
yeah, she was afraid that she would get, legal charges that way. She was also given, not that this means anything, but 3 polygraphs. So the way the social worker explains this is she was given 3 polygraphs all on the same day. The first one she took,
Oh,
she passed. And the social worker
okay.
was like, no, something's not right. Give it to her again. And then she
Okay.
took it again and
Okay.
passed it again.
Okay.
And the social worker was like, no, something isn't right. Give it to her again. And the third time, she apparently failed it because of one question. And
So it wasn't fitting the narrative of other people. So trying to push, push, push. Interesting.
exactly.
Now,
Yes.
I wonder if it was like the heart rate breathing monitoring typical polygraph or if it was a voice stress test too. Because they just redo the same one every time in the same day.
Yeah,
That
I don't know.
that
But I
doesn't
mean,
seem like a good scientific approach, in my opinion.
well, and with the family theory too, my whole thing is like, if Nicholas Barclay's family was somehow involved in his disappearance, this would also mean that they knew that Borden was a fraud, and this could bring so much attention to themselves. Like, why would they knowingly do that, you know?
Unless they thought that they could just get away with it. Like if they accepted it, everybody else should accept it. But
Hmm.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, kind of like what we were talking about at the beginning, you could also argue that heartbreak and denial are powerful things. And so perhaps this was a simple family from a small town facing this unimaginable loss of the missing child, and they just believed what these authorities were telling them.
Yeah, and I want to make it very clear where, like, in my opinion, where I stand. I don't care if a victim's family is strung out on drugs and their criminal record. I mean, we have to look at all of that to have a holistic case file. But two things can be true. I mean, Jason could have been a horrible person and on drugs and not have done anything to his brother. And Beverly, the same. She could have
Hmm.
had her own struggles and not have done anything. So those two things
Hmm.
can be true. And it's sad that it feels like that one avenue of, well, they're on drugs, they're a troubled family, they're trash, who cares? Let's not
Yeah.
even worry about it. But
Yeah.
if they did do something, then waiting the 3 days before calling in a
Mm,
missing persons report would make sense. However, it then also, he was also gone there and back running away a lot too. So it's confusing. I'd hate to sit and speculate. These people are innocent and open that up and re-traumatize and stuff. But when you have such a publicized case, this is wild, Kadra.
I know. Yeah. It's completely crazy.
He got real tattoos. Like, are they
Yes.
still in his body? Like, and
Uh
who's letting him procreate? Question.
yeah, no, seriously. Yeah, I know. I was like, a wife and 5 kids? What? And then they had little clips of him like with his daughter like on his shoulders and he's just walking the streets and like he's a changed person and he's sorry and blah 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 and I'm just like, no. Sorry. No.
Changed person. I'd like to see his search history on his computer.
Mm-hmm. Another theory with Nicholas is that he ran away due to the looming court date and he didn't want to go to the group home. Perhaps after that, he was met with some type of foul play. We talked about how San Antonio and Texas in general has a really high rate of human trafficking. So,
Mhm.
we don't want to think this obviously, but it's possible he was taken by someone or trafficked or that he was killed and never found. His mother also said it was not uncommon for him to hitchhike. And
Mm.
regarding people in the neighborhood, private investigator, the Charlie guy, he did run background checks on everyone in the neighborhood. Allegedly, nobody had any type of disturbing background, which I
Okay.
found pretty surprising just because I've lived in a lot of neighborhoods and I've always done that search. And it seems like there is at least a couple people that pop up on literally every search.
Yeah. Isn't it meganslaw.com? You can look up
Oh.
sexual predators, convicted felons. Like they have to register. I think it's Megan's Law. I think that's that one. Let's look it up because that
Yeah.
is. And also now, like on
Yes.
sites like, yeah, Megan's Law.
Yes.
So Megan, Megan s law.ca.go. I think that's just California, though, it looks like.
Oh,
Does it
uh-huh.
say anything else on there? So that just might be a state thing. But there are state to state, you can look those up. And as you should know,
It's a federal law.
is that okay? You should
Yes.
know who is living near you. I know now, and it's actually, I mean, it's disturbing when you see it, but you gotta take your head out of the sand and just be alert, be
Mm.
aware.
Oh, and this was enacted in 1994,
Hmm.
the same year that Nicholas went missing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you would wonder, someone like that now, if he was still in the States and he wasn't in France, what kind of registry, like, I feel like they would really get him for something against minors because that's disturbing. Living amongst minors, acting like them, there's gotta be, I'd be curious to know what happened to him when he was a child. So my best friend's a
Hmm.
psychologist, a psychiatric, excuse me, practitioner, and she teaches me, we have these conversations all the time, and she's always going back to the formative years and how it can totally change and rewire your brain chemistry. And it comes out in adulthood. But nothing, I mean, what would have had to happen to come out like this crazy
Right.
AF?
I know. The only thing that like I thought of when I was learning about all of this was Natalia Grace, but I learned a lot more about that case recently and I do want to cover it at some point, but like my mind has totally changed with that whole case
Mm-hmm.
and I feel that she was very much a victim in that.
Mm-hmm.
So I really don't know of any other story like this. It's
Well,
just
and I want
wild.
to know too, all these other things that he's claimed. How many did it get away with? And how do we know there wasn't some predatory type behavior. Then
Yeah,
that's super interesting. And even if not, okay, let's say there's absolutely nothing. The fact that it appears, correct me if I'm wrong, but the documentary, which I'm absolutely going to watch, skips over the motive.
yeah, no, they said there was no motive.
That's not possible. That is not possible. Everybody is driven by a motive of something, a desire, a motive. So that's I don't buy that. Do
Totally. Yeah.
you?
No.
Am I off course here? But I don't buy
No,
that.
I mean the only other thing that I thought is that this is like I mean it seems like a compulsion for him. Like
Hmm.
even in prison, he could not stop calling people. Like but at the same time, he has apparently stopped doing that. So I guess that kind of contradicts what I just said, but yeah, it's uh,
According to him, I
again, yeah,
guarantee we
according to
have
him.
not heard the last of him because what
Hmm.
happens through adulthood, I'm going to say something off the wall here, but BTK, the serial killer, took a break for a few
He
years when
did.
his daughter was born.
Hmm.
He's busy,
Mm. Yeah,
preoccupied.
he has five
So
kids.
your brain's stimulated in different areas. You can't just jet off and go do something. But I'm curious also how old his wife is.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I don't know.
But anyway, back to Nicholas. I mean, is there anything that to this day, are there cadaver searches around the areas? Are there any leads, any tips on this poor kid?
No tips, no leads. We do know that the homicide investigation was closed due to lack of evidence, but the missing persons case is still open.
It's
He's
closed or they closed it?
They closed it due to lack of evidence.
They wouldn't leave it like cold. That's okay. Is that
Yeah.
common?
No. I mean, well,
Like, you don't close, typically a
it,
closed case insinuates closure.
I think so. Basically, okay, if you want to look at it this way,
Yeah.
Borden, this sick man, was the only person who claimed that Nicholas was murdered. They investigate, interview all these people, and they can't find any proof that Nicholas has been murdered other than what this one guy said. So they're still like, they still have him listed as a missing person, but they closed the homicide investigation.
I've, yeah, that's so sad. This kid got bad cards dealt and he never got a chance for his redemption story, it sounds
Well,
like.
yeah. And then the other like annoying thing is like what Frederick Borden did. So when you Google Nicholas Barclay, Frederick Borden always comes up and pictures of him. So it's like this man's actions are covering up the real
Mm.
victim in this, which is
That's
Nicholas.
which is just like with the Amanda Knox story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sensationalized. Yeah, I do have curiosities about why it makes you wonder about entertainment value versus responsibility putting this documentary out there without like, okay, we want to look at Borden because we're curious and it's interesting. I get that, but then why aren't we looking at it to understand it instead of just sensationalize
Hmm.
it? But
When
poor
he says,
Nicholas.
Frederick Borden says things so matter of factly in the documentary, like there's no empathy or feeling in anything that he's saying, in my opinion. And they also show a video of him being arrested for the passport fraudulence charges and everything. And
Okay.
he's like smiling and waving to the camera. Like this guy is smug.
Borderline personality
Yeah.
disorder. Interesting. Wow. Cager, that's wild. And I just, if the case is closed, like, okay, so Nicholas is still listed as a missing person.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Yes.
closed homicide, but really it's an unsolved
Miss.
homicide. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering, so there's no active detective assigned to his case. So nobody's working on it.
No.
This
Yeah.
poor kid. I have such a heart for troubled teens.
Mm-hmm.
And I've firsthand seen kids come from very similar backgrounds turn their lives around because people didn't give up on them outside of their war zone. I just wonder what could have happened
I know.
with Nicholas.
Yeah.
And that timing is like right before going to residential. Sometimes the best thing is to get them out of that.
Yeah. And I mean, there's also like, there's a lot of podcasts that have covered this, a lot of big podcasts. I'm not going to say who they are, but there was one specifically, like the title of it was Frederick Borden. And I'm like,
Oh no.
that's not what this is about. You know, this is about a 13-year-old boy who went missing and the police and all these adults failed him. They didn't show up for him. And I really hope we're able to get some answers someday for if nobody else for him, you know.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I don't think that he is alive. I mean, I just don't.
Statistically, it's not in
Statistically,
his favor.
right, but he still deserves to be found. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and to be brought to rest. And I guess I could see where the Frederick Borden case study would be. If it was like
sure.
a psychological review and analysis and circle too, yeah. But if it's about a victim, like poor
Yeah.
Nicholas, ugh. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
gonna go through some massive deep dive, so expect some late night texts
Absolutely.
from me.
But that everybody is the story of the disappearance of Nicholas Barclay. And Jules, I would love for you to take a minute to talk about the very important work that you are doing.
Thank you.
There's a reason I wanted Jules on for this episode, everybody.
So I have FireEyesMedia. It's a podcast network, and we're independent, women owned and run, and we're a boutique. We keep it small on purpose for to be able to do it. There's two of us, myself and Jen Rivera, and we have some amazing people in our network. But I personally have found my niche, my passion is missing persons. So I have a podcast called Missing in Hushtown, and we're on our second season right now, and there are a lot of parallels actually to the second season. So the first season was on the unsolved homicide of Jennifer and Adriana Wicks, and it's from my own town that I live in right now. In fact, she went missing. I believe she was killed. I'll say that about 3 miles from where the crow flies, where I'm sitting right now.
Wow.
So it's in my own community, and it's heartbreaking, but I work with the families. And the second season is on Bethany Markowski, 11 years old, and went missing in 2001 on March 4th. And Tennessee is actually the official Missing Children's Day because Bethany went missing. But a parallel, when you were talking, my mind instantly went to there was a girl who showed up years after Bethany went missing, disoriented, and claimed to be Bethany Markowski and even had her birth date. And through DNA, it was disproven. Allegedly, we don't have the results of the DNA test. I'm ever the skeptic. But the family went through that, and the family was actually called and said, Bethany's coming home. We believe this is her. The TBI, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, at the time, the agent said, I think this is it. Get ready. So Bethany's mother had everybody come over to her house. And she's
Oh
like, we
my
need to get her a
God.
car. We need to get her a room. And they were all ready to welcome her home. And it turned out they said, it's not her. We can't give you any more information because if it's not her, you don't have a right to know anything else. And
I
that's been some of the
cannot.
theories
Wow.
too of sex trafficking or where did she go? Did someone harm her? So that's that podcast, the second season, it's going to be on the same feed on as Missing in Hushtown. So if you're already subscribed to Missing in Hushtown, the entire season's dropping October 22nd. So we've been very busy, and I'm doing that with Momcast Productions, the girls behind Like Mother Like Murder. Shout out. We
They
love
are.
them.
Yes, they are friends to this podcast.
They are amazing. I'm obsessed, and I'm blessed to get to work with them, but it's equal parts production, so they're really doing a great job, and we're putting that out. But it's devastating. So this case really hits home for a lot of reasons, and I see firsthand the families in the Wicks case and the Markowski case, their daily trauma that they go through. So I don't know. It's just heartbreaking. Devastating. And the fact that nobody was really looking for this boy. These girls were out all the time. Every community event, we're holding up signs. We're having Missing Children's Day in Tennessee, where their faces plastered everywhere. So it breaks my heart that this boy was not searched for in the same manner because he definitely was failed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Jules, I just like commend all of the amazing things that you're doing with FireEyes Media. I see the tenacity and the work that you put in and the stories that you're telling. I was super happy to be a part of You Should Be Here, the latest
Thank you. Thank you.
season. Yes, that is out, everybody. I know I talked about it on my show, but if you haven't listened to Death Not Yet, go check that out. It is stories of survivors. And yeah, it was a great thing to be a part of. But Jules has all kinds of awesome projects going on, and FireEyes Media is ethical true crime coverage. It is victim focused, and Jules is an amazing advocate. So go show her some love. Her links will be down in the show notes.
Thank you so much. And thank you for being part of You Should Be Here. Your episodes were amazing. Our next season of that comes out, The Cases That Haunt Us, October. So there'll be a bunch more episodes coming out, and all the money goes to an organization which helps victims. So thank you
Perfect.
for being part of that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Jules, you pick like a different charity each season,
I
right?
do.
Yeah, awesome.
Currently, it's running for Holly's House, one of the survivors that we did. One of the episodes, one of the girls did episodes on that, Rachel from Like Mother, Like Murder. And so everything that we earn from when the podcast is released, everything earned through ads just by listening, it helps us raise money. And then any donations from when the next season comes out goes right back to the nonprofit. Last time, it was After Hours Ministry who go out and help women who are in sex slavery
Mm,
out in Skid Row in Los Angeles. So we were able to donate money to them last time.
amazing. Amazing. You're doing the work, Jules. I
Thanks,
love
girl.
it.
You are too.
Thank you. Well, thank you everybody so much for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you did, let me know. I would love if you continue to follow along. If you're watching on YouTube, you can subscribe and drop a comment down below, like this video. If you are listening on Spotify, you can leave a comment on this exact episode, letting me know your thoughts. And if you haven't done so yet, it's always appreciated if you leave a 5-star review wherever you're listening. That's how I get more listeners, and that is how we
Mhm.
get these stories, these important stories out to more people. Continue to tell people about the show, and if you really want to support the show further, you can check out support links down in the show notes, including the Perplexed Society. That's patreon.com/perplexity mystery podcast. And thanks again, Jules. This was awesome. I really
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
Yes, I
Thank you for
appreciate
sharing
hearing.
his story with me.
Yes, I appreciate all the amazing questions you asked and hearing all of your thoughts because you do a lot of this work. So,
Yeah.
you all are amazing. I hope you have a great week. Please stay safe, and I will talk to you next week.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.